Just last week, I tried something so incredibly simple that it unexpectedly exploded into a massive win for my channel. It all started with a deep dive episode where I thoroughly analyzed the psychology behind product packaging design. You know, the kind of exhaustive content that absolutely thrives as a long-form podcast discussion, right? When I finished recording that hour-long session, a little voice in my head asked if there was a killer 1-minute clip hiding inside. So, I didn't do any intense editing, I just took the raw transcript and started hunting for one single, punchy soundbite. I strategically rearranged just a few key sentences to form a tight narrative arc for a short video. Then, I simply overlaid that tight narrative onto some generic unboxing footage I already had on file. I posted that quick 1-minute cut to social media, barely thinking twice about it. Fast forward a short while, and that tiny clip managed to achieve literally millions of views across the platforms. Now, let me be clear, this success didn't come from me spending hours inside a complex editing suite. I certainly wasn't painstakingly slicing waveforms or trying to manually sync 100 different B-roll clips to my voice. Instead, I leaned on a smart artificial intelligence tool to handle the truly heavy lifting of the selection process. This AI magically identified the specific moments within the long-form audio that were most likely to actually land with an audience. It then suggested relevant clips and allowed me to push content out to a consistent publishing schedule in mere minutes. If you are already producing any long-form material, whether it's podcasts or live streams, you can easily farm that gold. You can turn that material into bite-sized social content without being forced to become a full-time video editor yourself. Let me walk you through the core concepts that truly matter and the exact workflow I use every single time. We have to start with the core idea. The absolute best hook is usually buried somewhere deep in the middle of your recording. Every single truly great, long conversation contains one, sometimes several unforgettable hook moments. Usually, it is a line you might have tossed off casually while thinking out loud, only to spend the next 10 minutes elaborating on it. The unfortunate reality is that most creators simply overlook these gems because editing seems too expensive and tedious for the reward. They publish the entire hour-long piece and never bother to create the highly digestible shortcuts that drive discovery. However, if you can simply force yourself to read the raw transcript, spotting those powerful hooks becomes incredibly fast. We have learned that negative hooks are often the most performant because they sound genuinely controversial or perhaps a bit surprising. Think about lines like, "You waste so much money purchasing packaging you will immediately throw in the bin," which immediately hooks attention. Those types of statements instantly flip the tension in the narrative, causing the viewer to immediately stop their endless scrolling. If you are currently producing a podcast, the good news is that your existing audio quality is probably already more than sufficient for this task. Audiences are surprisingly willing to tolerate average video quality if the core topic and the delivery itself are genuinely interesting. I once created a viral explainer about a major banking scandal by just reading an analogy directly into my phone's selfie camera. That clip had frankly potato cam quality, but it still blew up because the central idea was immediately worth sharing, especially with captions. This brings us to the crucial mental shift required. Converting long-form to short-form is fundamentally a writing challenge, not a technical mixing one. Instead of manually chopping and dragging clips around on an editing timeline, your primary focus should be working directly inside the text transcript. Your job is to pull that initial hook, then carefully carve out a concise 1-minute narrative arc like hook, context, insight, and a final call to action. After that, you just fill in the necessary transitional gaps with the shortest possible lines that keep the momentum flowing forward. This method mirrors what professional copywriters naturally do every single day when they make sentences dance and sing together. You, as the long-form creator, can absolutely adopt this exact same creative rearranging process with your episode transcripts. This is precisely where smart editing applications truly change the entire creation game for the better. Rather than wrestling with complex tracks and manual timeline markers, you operate within a familiar, simple document-like interface. You gain the power to instantly search, drag lines around, delete unnecessary filler words, and immediately preview the resulting cut. This revolutionary process transforms the entire editing experience from technical grunt work into pure creative rearrangement. Now, let's talk about why a tool like Vizard deserves a mention, even when trying to avoid sounding like an overly enthusiastic commercial. Because the truth is, many tools claim to assist with content clipping, but they fall into specific, often unhelpful categories. Some solutions are merely glorified, slightly outdated timeline editors that don't really save you much time at all. Then you have the full suite enterprise platforms, which are often too expensive and feel built specifically for massive creative agencies, not solo creators. And finally, there are the cheap web apps that strictly offer one simple function: trimming the start and end points of a clip. Trimming is fine if you genuinely want to maintain total manual control over every single second, but it definitely doesn't promote scaling your output effectively. Vizard manages to sit right in that incredibly useful middle ground between those two extremes, serving the independent creator perfectly. It excels because it automatically scans your entire long video and identifies those high-engagement micro-viral moments instantly. These moments are often characterized by a spike in your vocal energy or when you utter something particularly provocative or insightful. The system then proactively builds several ready-to-post clips from these identified sections, saving you the initial search time. Crucially, this tool never tries to replace your own essential creative judgment. It just surfaces the best candidates for your final approval. That distinction, surfacing versus deciding, is the real reason you shift from spending an entire day digging to spending just 15 minutes curating 6 fantastic clips. Moving beyond the actual auto-editing, the true multiplier effect on your time comes from superior scheduling and organization features. Far too many platforms force you to export every single clip and then battle with a messy spreadsheet just to track your social posting plan. Or worse, they rely on clunky third-party social managers that often introduce unnecessary friction into the entire delivery pipeline. The integrated content calendar and auto-scheduling within a smart tool means you set the frequency once and let the system handle distribution across all your channels. For any creator who is consistently publishing daily or producing a large volume of weekly long-form content, this specific feature saves dozens of hours monthly. Let's cover a few practical, non-negotiable tips that I personally incorporate into every single one of my short-form video creations. Tip number 1 is to always ensure the absolute strongest hook line leads your 60-second edit, right at the very beginning. Remember that the best attention-grabbing line is often not found at the chronological start of your original podcast recording. You must have the courage to move that powerful opening line right to the very front, even if the timeline feels non-chronological. If the short story you are trying to tell is better served by a non-linear structure, then absolutely do not play the clip chronologically. My second essential tip involves making a negative or edgy hook serve as a doorway that quickly pivots into genuinely useful value. People are initially drawn in by drama, controversy, or surprise, but they stay subscribed because you consistently deliver practical value and insight. The third rule is non-negotiable. You must always include dynamic captions because roughly 80% of all viewers watch content on mute initially. Before you even generate the final captions, take a moment to meticulously fix any typos or remove those distracting filler words from the transcript. Fourthly, incorporating relevant images or very simple B-roll footage significantly helps viewer retention and keeps them watching longer. You absolutely do not need Hollywood-level production value for this supplementary footage. Simple stock clips will suffice wonderfully. Stock clips of a product in use, a relevant screen recording, or even a few clips from a previous video teardown work incredibly well. Even utilizing a simple split-screen layout, showing the speaker on the bottom and the product footage on top, boosts the crucial watch time metric. Finally, you must maintain a truly punchy and ruthless script by cutting 99% of all the conversational filler words. A good 1-minute script is incredibly lean, generally translating to only about 140 to 160 words when spoken at a normal human pace. You should approach the process as if you are writing a very short, powerful micro-essay meant to deliver one key takeaway. Let's briefly address where many of the competitor repurposing tools unfortunately tend to fall short in practice. I've personally tested countless of these editing and repurposing services over the last few years. Some are prohibitively expensive, clearly aimed at large agencies, and consequently overloaded with features you will never actually need or use. Others are very cheap but only manage that one basic function: trim the ends and export the raw file, leaving the social assembly entirely up to you. A few platforms boast about auto-posting everywhere, but often rely on extremely flaky third-party posting methods that crush your reach on platforms like Instagram. Alternatively, those that do support native posting frequently charge you an exorbitant extra subscription fee just for that basic functionality. The real tangible advantage of a tool like Vizard is that it is purely practical and designed around creators who need to achieve more with significantly less effort. The AI auto-editing surfaces all the strongest segments automatically, giving you the best raw material instantly. The built-in scheduler and content calendar completely remove all the tedious, repetitive busywork associated with content rollout. Because you can manage all these repurposed clips within one centralized system, you stop treating repurposing as an afterthought and start seeing it as a critical growth channel. So, here is my personal step-by-step process for turning one single podcast into an entire week's worth of content easily. Step 1 remains: simply record your hour-long episode without striving for unnatural, painful perfection. You want genuine, flowing conversation. Step 2 involves uploading that raw audio file or video file directly into your preferred analysis platform, like Vizard. You let the system thoroughly analyze the entire piece of media, patiently waiting for its initial assessment. The AI will then surface key moments where audience engagement is statistically likely to peak, such as laughs or emotional intensity. Step 3 begins the creative work. Read through the generated transcript and quickly pull out 5 to 8 compelling candidate hooks. From those candidates, you select the absolute strongest one and begin constructing a tight 60-second narrative arc around it. This arc should clearly feature that amazing hook, 2 concise supporting points, and end with one very clear takeaway statement. Step 4 is about adding the necessary visual polish, meaning you add your dynamic captions and select simple, appropriate B-roll footage. For a minute-long piece, try to limit your total number of distinct visual cuts to just 3 to 5 maximum for optimal pacing. If you have access to relevant footage from previous successful videos, do not hesitate to efficiently reuse that material here. Step 5 utilizes the content calendar feature to precisely schedule those clips across all of your relevant social media platforms. Remember to intentionally stagger the posting times so that you aren't flooding your audience with all the content simultaneously on day one. If you are testing out different messaging or hook variations, this is the perfect place to easily tweak the caption copy for each unique platform. Finally, step 6 is the feedback loop. Diligently monitor the performance analytics and learn why certain hooks truly landed successfully. Save the specific styles, pacing, and types of hooks that proved most effective, and instruct the AI to recommend similar strong moments next time around. This entire high-leverage workflow works surprisingly well, even when your initial production quality is undeniably basic. The fundamental truth is that engaged audiences care infinitely more about compelling ideas than they do about perfect, expensive pixels. If your message is clear and carries a genuine emotional weight, viewers will absolutely stop scrolling to listen to you. I have personally witnessed creators using old iPhone selfie footage achieve truly viral numbers, simply because their content satisfied a core curiosity in a memorable way. While polished production absolutely aids in long-term retention, interesting subject matter paired with good pacing and captions will always defeat overproduced yet shallow fluff. Now, for those of you who are absolutely not natural-born copywriters, please do not overcomplicate this step by trying to force it. It is often faster and significantly cheaper to hire a talented freelance copywriter who specializes in short-form impact scripting. You can give that writer access to your full transcript, clearly define your established brand voice, and request a stack of 1-minute script options. You can then feed those professionally tightened scripts directly into your AI tool or your preferred editing software without any extra manual trimming. These dedicated writers naturally cut out 99% of the fluff, leaving behind only the absolutely core narrative you need for social success. That, genuinely, is the fastest proven path from raw, unedited material to consistent, high-performing social output every single week. Let's look at a few examples of hooks that perform extremely well, so you can feel free to steal these proven concepts for your own content. Consider this one for packaging content. They spent millions designing something you immediately throw straight into the trash can. Or for product or user experience discussions, try framing it this way. This one tiny design change caused customers to line up around the block. For any growth strategy discussion, a universally strong hook is, if you only commit to doing one single thing to grow your business, you absolutely must do this. And for content aimed at other creators, a great hook creates immediate self-reflection. Stop doing this specific thing immediately when you edit your podcasts. Every single one of those opens a powerful curiosity gap that you can satisfyingly fill within the short 30 to 60-second window with a single insight. Before we wrap up, I need to give you a quick necessary caution regarding the ugly truth about platform automation rules. Be warned, certain major platforms genuinely dislike automated scheduling tools that utilize generic mass posting techniques. If you use non-specific mass schedulers that post from shared IP addresses, you run the serious risk of having your distribution significantly suppressed on meta properties. The safest and most future-proof play is to either post directly through the platform's official mobile app or use a scheduler that supports native API posting. A good tool's auto-schedule function is explicitly built to help savvy creators like you cleverly avoid those common pitfalls entirely. Even with this automation available, you always maintain the option to manually post if you feel inherently nervous about the system handling it. The primary goal here is simply making the multi-platform posting process manageable without ever having to compromise on quality or reach. My final closing thought is this: you must actively make repurposing a reliable habit, rather than letting it constantly feel like an unwelcome chore. Creating the initial raw content might feel like the easy part, but distribution is the specific activity that ultimately scales your entire audience base. If you consciously treat every single long episode as a rich content mine waiting to be extracted, your distribution scales dramatically. When you have that reliable, repeatable system in place, transcript, hook, clip, captions, schedule, you create a steady stream of short posts feeding discovery algorithms. You don't necessarily need the most expensive or perfectly featured tools available, but you absolutely must have a smart, established workflow. For my personal workflow, it looks like this. I record long form, I find the hooks in the text, the AI surfaces candidates, I clean the script, and then I schedule everything across platforms. If you want to apply this concept starting next week, take your very next podcast episode and immediately export that transcript for review. From that text, you must personally pick out just 3 genuinely great lines that you think could function as powerful hooks for short content. Your only task then is to assemble those 3 resulting 1-minute scripts and post them strategically over the course of the following week, keeping those captions firmly on. Watch closely which hook wins the performance battle. Once you truly understand what resonates, you will never, ever run out of snackable content ideas. What truly excites me lately is the realization that creators can achieve much more by simply working smarter, not by working significantly longer hours. It is all about converting your existing long-form work directly into tangible short-form growth using a streamlined system and the right scaling tool. I will be producing another in-depth episode specifically detailing exactly how to brief a freelance copywriter to consistently generate viral microscripts. If that advanced topic sounds useful to your content strategy, please let me know your interest in the comments section below. Alright everyone, that is it for this session, as I actually need to get back to recording that next hour-long episode that's currently waiting for me. Believe it or not, as I was speaking just now, I already spotted 3 more incredible hooks I can easily repurpose from that content later today. I will catch all of you again in the next video tomorrow to continue optimizing our creative output.